Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here this morning and share this time with all of you. Obviously, an interesting time here on Capitol Hill. Um, I don't think that back in November, when the three of us were elected, we ever thought that the 118th Congress would be the way that it has been. I mean, from our first week when we were trying to elect a speaker the first time, um, getting sworn in at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. But by that time, all of our family had left. And I remember texting back and forth with former Congressman Peter King, and he said, "I served in Congress for almost 30 years. If you vote one more time, you will have voted on more speakers than I have." And last night I texted him and I said, "We win." So it has been interesting, and obviously the talk, and I know that we've gotten the opportunity to speak to many of you in this room over the last half hour or so. And I think what's important is that over the last 2 weeks, the New York delegation, especially the freshman members, and especially the three of us, have really stuck together. We wanted to make sure that people across this country knew, that they'd like to coin us with the term majority maker. I mean, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, yes, we did win seats in blue states. Without our victories, we wouldn't be in the majority, but everyone that wins a race deserves to be recognized as part of that majority. But we have really stuck together to make sure that people understand that our values and the values of those that we represent back in New York and back on Long Island are important. And I share that not because everyone here is from New York or have fled New York. I share that because I think it is important for members of Congress to really have a good balance between representing the party and representing our values, but also standing strong on what's important back home. Because without making sure that the people back home are pleased and feel like they have a voice here in Washington, D.C., we don't come back. And we represent districts that I know for myself, it's one that a Democrat held for 25 years. Obviously, Mike had a district that was held by the DCCC chairman, and Marc as well. I mean, came off a special election and then back into a general, all seats that Democrats held. So it's important for us to work across the aisle, and I think that's seen. I mean, obviously, these guys will speak for themselves. It's seen in our committee work. We represent and serve on committees that are not partisan. We try to work in a bipartisan fashion to deliver for back home. Myself, transportation and infrastructure. Those of you that are from New York or know New Yorkers, we're a needy bunch. People like to, back in New York, want to see things, they want to smell things, they want to touch things, and I think serving on transportation and infrastructure gives us that ability to send tangible results back home. Homeland security, it's one of those things that I say often on the floor or on our committee floor in Homeland Security, and that nothing that really we discuss there should be partisan. It's not the security of our homeland is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's an American issue, and I think it would be we get a lot more done if more people saw it that way. And then I also serve on the House Administration Committee, which was actually not a committee that goes through the steering process. It's one that's an appointment by the Speaker. And the reason why I enjoy that committee so much, many people think it's not really that important, but to me it is, because it's the committee that oversees the Capitol Police. And obviously a career in the NYPD, and people often ask me, especially with everything going on in New York City now, "Oh my God, aren't you glad you left?" Especially this week, the answer is no. But it really was the greatest job in the world. It was a front row seat to the greatest show on earth. But it also taught me a lot. And I'll pass it off to these guys and end with the one thing that I often talk about, and people say, what has prepared you for being a member of Congress? What has prepared you for being an elected official? Was it your education? Unfortunately, the answer is really no. Don't tell my parents that, because they'd probably be not happy that they paid those bills. Was it your time on the town board? Yeah, that helped, working in a bipartisan fashion. But by far and away, the greatest education that I was able to have, that I think makes me a successful and productive member of Congress, is being a member of the NYPD. sitting in a car each and every day with men and women, different color skin, different religion, different economic background, certainly different political ideologies. My life depended on them and their life depended on me. And we got out of the car every day to affect change and to make the communities that we took an oath to protect and serve, to make them a little safer. So I try to bring that same thought process here to Congress. Sometimes it works and sometimes we fail miserably, but nonetheless, we are working hard, and we're working hard to deliver for the communities. We're working hard to deliver for the industries that matter to you. So I just want to thank you all for being here this morning. It's great to spend time with my colleagues from New York, and I look forward to all of your questions. Thank you.
So the French have a word for the last 3 weeks that is clusterfuck. Obviously, as Anthony said, none of us expected this when we decided to run last year. And coming from New York, a blue state where Democrats have supermajorities in the state legislature, control of the governorship for nearly 20 years now, and have destroyed the city of New York with 2 successive mayors. This is, we all chose to run because we wanted to be in the majority and we wanted to govern and we wanted to be able to get things done, not just on behalf of our districts, but the state and the country. And so, certainly speaking for myself, the last 3 weeks have been destructive to the majority. They've been destructive to the country. And I would dare say this will go down as the single stupidest thing I've ever seen in politics. And I think Kevin McCarthy deserved a lot better than that. I don't think he deserved to be treated that way by the conference, by 8 people who teamed up with 208 Democrats to remove him. And as a result, there's been a lot of frustration, a lot of infighting, a lot of anger. The 5 stages of grief, Festivus, airing of the grievances. But here we are. And I think hopefully today we will elect a speaker. I think all of us share the sentiment that Mike Johnson is an unfailingly nice guy, someone who gets along with everyone in the conference, and someone who certainly, has respect among his peers. Whatever policy differences there may be between members like us and he, or things that will get worked out. But I think he will do a good job and kind of trying to bring the conference back together, because the reality is, personalities aside, we have to govern. Mm-hmm. We have to govern. There's 221 of us, and you need 218 on the floor. And we don't really have time to putz around at this point. Another government shutdown is looming. We need to get back to work on our appropriations bills. We're going to need to keep the government funded and open past the November 17th deadline. We need to deal with aid to Israel. We need to deal with our border. We need to deal with Ukraine. And so a lot of work ahead, and we're all going to have to put our differences aside and focus on the country. Coming from a district that Joe Biden won by 10 points, that has 70,000 more Democrats than Republicans, that's home to Bill and Hillary Clinton and George Soros. This is not a district where, I get the luxury, or Anthony gets the luxury in his district, or Mark in his, to be able to, screw around here. Our constituents sent us here to govern, to lead, and to be reasonable and responsible. And I think all of us have tried to do that. The first week, I think the conference loved us because New York did deliver the majority. About 3 weeks in, I think they all realized that we were not, shrinking violets, and we're going to be a force to be reckoned with as a conference, as a delegation within the conference. And I think that obviously has served us well in many respects, and we have worked together, and we have tried to operate even if we disagree on something, but operate as a team and be able to deliver for our constituents in New York. So we'll continue to do that as the 118th Congress moves along. Yeah, very slowly, but we will continue to work together.
The difficulty of being the third congressman to speak is that there's not much more to be said. However, the benefit of being the third congressman to speak is I have plenty to say. Jim opened with a quote from Teddy Roosevelt, and I suppose most of you were listening. But Teddy Roosevelt also said that at some point in his first presidential campaign, that America is the greatest republic the sun has ever shined upon, and we must act like it. America is the greatest republic the sun has ever shined on. We must act like it. I will say, I think, and we've all kind of said it ourselves, and you're thinking it, these last few weeks, and perhaps even the last 10 months, have really forced us to question whether or not we've lived up to both that expectation and that demand that we live up to it. For folks like us who not only by design, our districts necessitate that we govern and that we are engaged in our districts and that we're paying attention to the people we represent. By the way, find ways to work across the aisle and in many ways, even across the ideological spectrum within our conference. Not only do our districts expect it, but you have 3 members of Congress in front of you from New York who inherently want to do that. As Booth mentioned, and you've seen in my biography, I have served in elected office longer than these 2 guys combined. Time. That doesn't mean I'm doing better than they are. It just means I have never had a real job. And so, but I will tell you, every day.
I think I was 7 when you first got elected.
That's fine. I was with a member yesterday who referred to me as an adorable freshman. And I said to him, and he'll remain nameless, from California, not Kevin McCarthy. I said to him, with all due respect, sir, I've been in elected office since 1994. He said, what were you, 8? I said, no, 18. I've spent every day of my adult life governing. I used to say I spent every day of my adult life in public service, but people don't know what that means. But when you're a local elected official, as Anthony was and Mike served in both appointed and then state elected office, when you're in local government, in particular where we're from, you learn very early on that the decisions you make have real impacts on real people. And that when in local government, when the roof leaks, it leaks on Republicans and Democrats, and the job of government is to fix the roof. We've spent the last 3 weeks talking about why the roof is leaking, who's to blame for the leaky roof. In fact, we even pushed a few of the repairmen off the ladder, and found many ways not to get to agreement. It is a distressing moment, and I'm very tired of saying to my children, and by the way, even hearing from some of you, you're living through history. I am tired of living through history, and would like to get back to actually doing the work we were sent here to do. And I'll get to that in just a moment. I've listened to, we've been together far too much. We've all heard each other's stories, and we work together quite well, even in those moments we disagree. As Anthony said, this delegation, particularly the freshmen from New York, we rely on one another, we trust one another, we advise.
Excluding one.
Well, that's true, but in fairness, no one really knew who he was. It'll sink in. We rely on one another, we give each other advice, and sometimes we have to slap each other, of course, metaphorically, to get back focused. But I was listening to Anthony talk about his professional experience, and I'm reminded that beyond working in local government, my very first job may have prepared me the best for serving in Congress. Mike's sadly heard this story, but my very first job was I wanted to learn how to ride horseback, and in my hometown of Tivoli, 1,300 residents. We are not all related, but we're very close. I was given the opportunity to learn how to ride horses in exchange for cleaning up after them. So I spent 6 winters cleaning horse stalls. and shoveling horse manure, which now I realize is probably the best preparation for serving in Congress today. I came to Congress and won a seat that is, as these gentlemen have, basically, it's a marginal seat, whatever that means. 50-50 is basically in my district's about 50-50 enrollment. I came to Congress because I wanted to make a difference for the people I represent and to use my life experience to make an impact here in Washington. It has been stressed and strained, but I can tell you we've assembled a wonderful team. We've achieved, for us, a number of, I think, significant accomplishments, policies that have been built into the NDAA, which thankfully we adopted, amendments built into those appropriations bills that we did move across the floor, and hopefully Speaker-designate Mike Johnson will help us move the rest across the floor. We're focused, as I serve on the Agriculture Committee on the Farm Bill. We'll get back on track. It is delayed. It will be delayed. But major policy initiatives on behalf of upstate farming and on transportation and infrastructure. Very happy to have been a part of developing the FAA reauthorization bill, where we have 7 initiatives meant to grow American jobs, meant to invest in upstate and American airports, and really make an improvement to aviation innovation built into the FAA reauthorization. I serve now on the conference committee on NDA reauthorization, and hopefully, when we get past this moment in history, we will get back to living up to Teddy Roosevelt's charge that we not only deliver for the people we represent, but we act like the greatest republic the sun has ever shined upon. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Great.